Today we're taking a look at these NCAAF matches, which are happening on Saturday, December 18, 2021, and giving you match breakdowns, betting tips and predictions in general on these games. Welcome back to High Stakes, let's get straight into it. Also, don't forget to subscribe to get notified as soon as we release these sport prediction videos, and if you would like more betting tips and predictions, then check out our Patreon in the link down below. Our new Patreon is a way for us to help you improve your chances of making more money. 5 plans are available for each and every one of you. You can get 30 extra betting picks all the way up to 500 extra betting picks per month. Stop wasting hours of your time searching for bad betting advice that ends up costing you a lot of money. Join the High Stakes Patreon now and get the best betting picks and advice. UTEP vs Fresno State. The UTEP Miners have been playing decently well on the defensive side of the field this season, as they are giving up 24.8 points per game. In their previous game against the UTEP Blazers, they allowed 42 points on 328 total yards of offense, 108 passing, 220 rushing. The Blazers were 6 of 14 on third down and converted their only fourth down attempt. UTEP needs to step up and defend the run as they allowed 5.4 rushing yards per carry. Bowl season is underway as the UTEP Miners will take on the Fresno State Bulldogs on Saturday, December 18 in the New Mexico Bowl. Fresno State enters as winners of 2 straight games after defeating San Jose State on Thursday, November 25, 49. The Bulldogs are 6-4 Austrian shillings in their last 10 games. Texas El Paso lost 4 of their final 5 games, including a 42-25 loss to UTEP on Friday, November 26. The Miners are 6-4 Austrian shillings in their last 10 as well. The one advantage that UTEP has had over many of their opponents this season has been their defense. This is a very impressive group, but the defense for the Bulldogs is a little better than what the Miners have. That takes away any edge they may have had in this contest and puts the advantage of who has the best defense in Fresno State's court. The Fresno State Bulldogs have been a pretty solid defensive program this season, as they are allowing 20.3 points per game. In their previous game against the San Jose State Spartans, they gave up 9 points on 324 total yards of offense, 260 passing, 64 rushing. The Spartans finished going 6 of 14 on third down attempts and failed to convert on either fourth down tries. The Bulldogs also forced a pair of turnovers, both fumble recoveries. While Hardison has had a solid season, he simply cannot compete with Heener. The Fresno State quarterback is one of the best in the country, and I expect him to have a huge day despite facing a very tough UTEP defense. A big loss for the Miners was when defensive back Justin Prince was hurt in the final contest of the season. Our first betting advice is to pick Fresno State Bulldogs -17. Fresno State averaged 463.8 yards per game, 14th overall, including 330.1 through the air, 9th in the nation. They averaged 33.6 points per contest, 28th overall. The defense put up solid numbers as well, 32nd in the country in yards allowed per contest at 342.6 and 21st in points allowed at 20.3 per game. This offense is led by Jake Heener, who threw for 10 yards and 32 touchdowns, completing an impressive 67.5% of his passes. Heener is very smart with the ball, throwing just 9 interceptions in 449 pass attempts. The Bulldogs quarterback had 6 receivers record at least 20 catches this season, led by Jalen Cropper, with 76 catches for 827 yards and 11 touchdowns. The deep threat for this team is Zane Pope, who had 24 catches for 434 yards and 18.1 yards per catch average. The Bulldogs can run the ball as well, led by Ronnie Rivers, who rushed for 788 yards and 5 scores, averaging 4.9 yards per carry. Jordan Mims is a solid backup, averaging 5.6 yards per carry, while rushing for 545 yards and 4 touchdowns. UTEP averaged 392.1 yards per game, 71st in the country, scoring 25.2 points per game, 89th overall. They were 30th in yards allowed per contest at 339.4, including 29th in passing yards allowed at 203.4. The Miners allowed 24.8 points per contest, 53rd overall. Defense is what UTEP is all about, and this is a group that produced 24 sacks, 8 interceptions, and 6 fumble recoveries. Jadrian Taylor led the group with 6.5 sacks. Brian Hayward led the team with 97 tackles, plus he had 1.5 sacks and a fumble recovery. The offense has a solid ground game thanks to Ronald Awatt, who rushed for 804 yards and 5 touchdowns, averaging 5.5 yards per carry. However, UTEP averaged 3.8 yards per carry as a team. Dean Hankins scored 6 rushing touchdowns, but averaged 3.7 yards per carry. Our second betting advice is to pick under 51. UAB vs BYU. UAB is coming off a 42-25 win over the UTEP Miners. In the game's second half, the Blazers outscored UTEP by a score of 24-8. On defense, the team allowed the Miners to finish with just 3 third-down conversions. UAB's biggest advantage came on the ground as they outrushed UTEP by 131 yards. Dwayne McBride and Jermaine Brown Jr. were the team's primary rushing options, finishing with 99 and 88 yards, respectively. The number 12 BYU Cougars will look to finish with a second straight 11-win season when they take on the UAB Blazers in the Independence Bowl on Saturday afternoon in Shreveport, Louisiana. UAB finished the regular season at 8-4, 6-2 Conference USA, including a comfortable 42-25 home victory over the UTEP Miners as a 14-point favorite in the finale back on November 26. BYU closed out its season on November 27 with a 35-31 road win over the USC Trojans as an 8-point favorite, improving to an impressive 10-2 overall. In BYU's most recent game versus USC, the team picked up its 10th win of the season by the score of 35-31. In the game, the Cougars broke out of 14 points in the second quarter, giving them enough cushion to put the game away late. Quarterback Jaren Hall threw for 276 yards and 2 touchdowns. However, he did help USC hang around by throwing 2 interceptions. On the ground, Tyler Algier picked up 111 yards and 2 touchdowns. Clark has done a wonderful job turning UAB into a solid program over the last 5 years, but this is ultimately a brutal draw for a team that finished third in Conference USA. BYU has proven its ranking is deserved with 6 wins over power conference teams, including a victory against Pac-12 champion Utah, and is just too talented for the Blazers on both sides of the ball. The question for the Cougars this season was how the offense would respond after number 2 overall pick Zach Wilson left for the NFL, and Hall didn't miss a beat by making a lot of plays downfield with an interception rate of just 1.6%. Add in one of the nation's best running backs in Algier plus the talented Nakua Gunnar-Romney receiving duo, and you get one of the most efficient, balanced defenses in all of college football at 6.6 yards per play overall despite facing a tough schedule. Our first betting advice is to pick UAB -7. Jaren Hall finished 20-30 seconds passing for 276 yards, 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, while adding 26 rushing yards. Algier went off for 111 yards and 2 touchdowns on 21 carries, with Hill piling up 72 yards and the score on 4 receptions. BYU finished with a 465-458 advantage in total yards and lost the turnover battle 2-0, but made just enough stops in the red zones to pull off the hard-fought victory. Despite the successful overall season, the Cougars went just 5-7 against the spread and failed to cover in both of their last 2 games, including not beating Georgia Southern by enough as a huge favorite. Overs are also 5-7 for the Cougars, with 3 of their last 4 games going over the betting total. BYU enjoyed a prolific season offensively with an average of 33.5 points and 457.4 yards per game to rank inside the top 30 nationally. The Cougars weren't as good defensively but still generally did enough with 24.2 points and 386.3 yards per game allowed. Dylan Hopkins completed 15 of 20 pass attempts for 108 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Brown Jr. piled up 88 yards and 3 touchdowns on 16 carries, while Dwayne McBride made some huge plays with 7 carries for 99 yards and a score before getting injured. The Blazers only had a 328-303 advantage in total yards, but were unstoppable on the ground and forced 3 turnovers. UAB was a strong bet this regular season at 8-1 against the spread and covered in each of its last 3 games, including a minor upset of Marshall and competitive loss against number 24 UTSA. Overs went 5-7 for the Blazers, although 4 of their last 5 games went over the betting total. The Blazers enjoyed one of their strongest defenses in the Clark era, averaging 29.4 points and 384.5 yards per game. UAB's defense was solid, if not quite as elite as other recent seasons, with opponents managing 22.8 points and 323.9 yards per contest. Our second betting advice is to pick over 54.5.